Uh, I really appreciate what Mr. Desai said. If I may ask Mr. Desai, what is your ARN number? And I think it's a 3-digit number.
It's 0234.
0234. So that deserves a clap. And I was fortunate to have interacted with all of my panel speakers. Mr. Desai was my room partner in one of the events. Schubert is the second generation. And I visited a wonderful office, one of the most professional offices of Sulaksh in Margaon. So, and he's also a learner. I believe you're doing your CFA. So coming back to myself, well, I would say I was lucky. One thing was there is I was very intrigued and I was interested in seeking knowledge. So it's everything, and you know, I loved reading. So what happened is in 19, if I go back to my school days, I tried to do something little different. So when everybody decided to go for science, we were, you know, in the 10th standard in a special batch for higher maths and higher science. I was the one who last moment went for commerce, thinking that a CA is equal to a doctor is equal to an engineer. That was one part of it. But when I did my chartered accountancy, somehow I fell in love with the stock markets. In 85 to 90, I was dabbling in shares. And that time the Sensex was below 1,000. So in 1990, when I started off, I qualified as a chartered accountant, but I said in a month's time, I surrendered my certificate of practice and I went into stockbroking. At that time, it was not very healthy because, you know, you're giving up something which is good. And prior to that, I had an experience with the bank. I was working in Citibank, and that was in the advances against shares. So that's the time where I could, you know, read the economic times, and I started off. Now my journey, see, in stocks there are two stories, you know, two success stories. There is a Colgate and there's a ITC. Colgate is dedicated and ITC is into so many other activities. But so mine is like a ITC story. So I wore many hats. Since I liked academics, I was constantly teaching at the Goa University, Goa Institute of Management, you know, for about 25 years. And that kept me updated. And from a chartered accountant to a stockbroker to a life insurance agent to a mutual fund distributor. Then mutual fund distributor, when I read about the RIA, I was one of the first to empanel. And then afterwards, I thought, you know, if a little ahead of the times, maybe I'll go back to a MFD. So I look at myself as a MBBS in financial services, a family doctor. So if a client comes to me, now where I stand, pre-pandemic, I was calling myself a certified financial planner or a RIA or a MFD or whatever. But in the pandemic times, I said, let me call myself a sustainability advisor, because that's where, you know, people wanted that. And when Kanakji asked me a question here, what do you do? So I said, I think, you know, now I think I simplify people's lives. Now my average age, my age is 57, my average age of the clients is 59. So 33 years back when I started, my clients who were 30, 40, 50 are now 60, 70, 80. So where we come in, to all my friends who are listening, I would say seek your own destiny, seek what you're good at. We may say something, but you know, it should resonate with what works for you. What worked for me might not work for you. Okay, so maybe identify yourself. Who are you? Who am I? What is my strengths? So use some either your own introspection. At times I have done a 1-month course to find out who am I, and maybe it may be a little different note on a Vipassana or something where the dots get connected. And if you characterize yourself that either you're a finder, minder, binder, or a grinder. So I feel I'm a finder and I'm a binder. I like to get along with people. What I am not, I may avoid doing it or seek the help of a colleague who is good in that. And the graph that the gentleman showed, about 40 years graph, if you see, it is absolutely steady and suddenly it is taken off. So I think we are in that takeoff stage for all of us. The next 10 years or 20 years are going to be that. So we all can try to make the future bigger than our past. So somebody is here. I can tell for sure that if Mr. Desai has been in the field for about 30 years, 35 years, 25 years.
25.
But you know, in the banking, you know, if you combine the things, the next 5 years, the next 5 years, the vision should be that you will earn X times much more than what you've ever earned in the last 20, 30 years. And that applies to everyone. So imagine the long runway the youngsters have who are less than 40, 50 years of age. So that is my sharings. So as of now, who am I? I look at talking to a client and adapting myself to what the client requires. What is it that keeps him or her awake at night? So we have something called a discovery meeting, where I love technology, but there is no PowerPoint presentation and all. When with the client, I have a A3 size paper, white sheet of paper, and I just listen and I jot down what the client wants. And that I convert the client's needs into figures or what the requirements are. So sometimes the yield is 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You know, I mean, look at the time it takes. So I'll just share by way of an example. In August, a second generation client of mine, who always sort of, whenever I said something, she listened to me, yes uncle, she would say. So I said, let's start with risk management. And I said, I think you need to do, term insurance, critical illness, health insurance, and your mutual fund. So mutual fund kitty had grown, maybe 25, 30 lakhs or so. The father had initially invested the money. So she said, yes, uncle, but outside my cabin she will go, and whatever I suggested, she would half. Because, why to do this much, or the premium is too high. August, she was detected with breast cancer. Now what is my role? I'm sorry to say, but I think it is detected positive. I said, no, I hope the claim is not settled, in the sense it's not malignant. And whichever person you believe, whichever spiritual God you believe in, write down your challenges, because she had an 8-year-old son. She was 39 years of age. And put that paper in the God's lap so that you are stress-free. Don't worry, you are covered. You have 1 crore of health insurance. It was 1 crore, but she opted for 50 lakhs, but with bonus it had come that much. Premium was 31,000. Cancer policy, which had said 50, she opted for 20. It was 6,600 per year, 500 rupees a month. Term critical illness, 20 lakhs, 11,000 rupees, or less than 1,000 a month. Now that 11 plus 6, about 17,000 she paid for 3 years, and she gets a check of 46 lakhs credited to her account. Now, did I talk of mutual funds? No. But after her chemo, and that she was covered with the Tata Memorial in this thing. She sends me a message last week. I mean, of course, it's an absolute thank you kind of a letter, but I'm there for you as an advocate. I said, and then I said, whom am I talking to? You're a psychologist, and I should, but no, I do need such help. And this money has come, it has helped her to settle some of her dues, at the same time come back as a AUM. Now, these are just some side tracks, but it depends on how you go through and what principles you follow. Again, it doesn't appear very attractive, Shubhat, for 6,000 rupees. My sometimes colleagues will say, "Arey, you talk in 5 minutes, you'll get 5 lakhs, and that's better than earning, something." But that's the goodwill one looks forward to. So this is how I would suggest, in my view. And yes, there have been some big cases also. There has been a term insurance settlement of more than 20 crores, 30 crores to one family. So what is your value to that family with a policy that you have not done but you advised? I mean, there are some circumstances. And recently, last fortnight, we had a terminal 4, stage 4 cancer, the person who passed away, age 46, daughter in 12th standard, another daughter in school. 20,000 was the premium which I had suggested. And his widow will be getting a check of 1 crore of rupees. Now, at that point of time, you do get a lot of satisfaction and do those settlements. So I would suggest to all of you, look at the client's needs. And some people will come to you, we talk of the apps, we talk of, free everything. Have patience. There are clients in the pandemic who thought that they were smarter than all of us. They may be, but they dabbled by themselves until they floundered. So we do some, like if I'm a CA, I'll say I'll audit your holdings, I'll see what things are. And it found, recently we had a client who did by himself, and he's got last 3 years returns of about 8%. in equities by himself. So all I said that a few clients, some statements of mine, they've generated about little more than that. A 2% more on a 2 crore holding is lakhs of rupees. So that account comes, but it takes patience. And last, to all of you, I would ask, how many of you have your own advisor? Anybody? Or we are smart enough, we handle it ourselves? I have a friend, he handles my money. We tell the others, no, come to us, we'll advise you. A barber cannot cut his own hair. So that's my message.